In this section, till now we have covered the fundamentals of domain-driven design, where we covered the building blocks and strategic and design principles, including domain model. In the last part of this section, we'll cover the sample domain model, where we will implement the entity implementation, service implementation, and repository implementation. So let's have a look at the first one, which is entities. So as a part of entity, we'll have two main classes, restaurant and table. So as you could see, our top level class is entity and base entity is our second level class, and restaurant and tables, these are the two classes which are our main entity classes, inherit the base entity. Now first we'll write the entity abstract class, then we'll write the base entity abstract class, and at the end we'll write the implementation of restaurant and table entities. So let's start entity. In entity, we'll have two main members, ID and name. So first, since we are planning to have the abstract class, so we'll write it abstract, and similarly we would like to have user defined data type for ID. Then we'll have another member, name, and then we can generate the getter and setter for both the members. So here we are done with our first class entity. Now we'll write our second class, which is the base class. You could see here. Now and use the same T over here. Now here what we are planning to do, first it will inherit the entity, so let's inherit it, and it will have one more member which is modified, and then we can generate the constructor, and here we will use same first we will initialize super.id equal to id, super.name equal to name, and is modified also we need to initialize, so we'll take by default value as false, and we can also, so we don't need for these two, we'll just use the base entity members modified and we'll generate it. So now we'll create the table, and you can see like restaurant is having table, that's the reason first we'll create the table. So let's move to the NetBeans, and here we know table extends the base entity, and we can give big integer as id.
So
now we can do one more thing, we can add one more member, capacity, and similarly we'll add capacity over here, So we can set so now we can add getter setter for capacity. So let's add getter setter for capacity. We also need to one thing to override toString. So let's override and here we can so we have ID, name, then we have capacity, and can mark it. So we are done with table. Now we can have restaurant. So let's create restaurant. Restaurants also extends BaseEntity, and here we can give string as ID type. Now here we'll also need to add one member. So now we can add tables what we have just created, and we can define it with new, initialize it with new array list. So we can add it over here. And we can add getter setter, and we can override toString. So here again we'll add string builder. So we have overridden toString function which will print ID, name and tables of restaurant.